Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nrgy Speaks Live podcast. I'm Coach Nrgy, the Self Mastery Coach, keynote speaker, court registered mediator, and author. On this channel, we discuss everything involving personal development and self improvement for those who want to achieve self mastery. We'll provide daily tips or tips that you can actually take action on today. So make sure that you pay attention, make sure that you tune in and stay focused to all of the information that we're covering. This week's guest is Deanna. She will be covering everything money, everything finances, and we're going to go deeper into some topics, and specifically, we're talking about honoring family commitments. I'm looking forward to that one. So Deanna, thank you for your time today, and please introduce yourself and let our listeners know your experience or your relation to what topics we will be covering today.
Yeah, thank you, Nrgy, for that great introduction and for having me on your show. I'm excited to get to share what I do with your audience. So let me start off with really what got my business started. 2 weeks into my job as a financial planner, I was sitting in the conference room after a client had left the meeting. I was on the 16th floor of this gorgeous building, and I was reviewing the notes of what we had to do next for our clients. Me and my colleague had just talked about the next steps, and when all of a sudden my shoulders just slumped, and I started to cry. And I realized that it was my body just letting me know that this was not the way that I needed to do my work. As a Latina, as a woman, as a person who's a child of immigrants, I was serving the top 4 to 6% of wealth holders, and that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to serve my community. I wanted to be able to serve everybody else. I wanted to be able to make a difference in more people's lives. And that's what sprouted the seed for All the Colors, the business that I now have, and Bosque Money, which is a 6-month community coaching program. So let me tell you, well, the vision of All the Colors is to transform the state of money management for women of color entrepreneurs worldwide. My mission is to help women create systems that are stable and supportive, money systems that are stable and supportive for themselves, their loved ones, and their community. It's to get money to just be a thing that's easy to do, that you're not losing sleep over, that you have confidence in what you're doing, that you know who to go to ask questions, right? So just freedom from the money worries, always wondering, am I doing the right thing? And let me tell you about a client of mine. So let's call her Cynthia. Cynthia is a 36-year-old Black woman from Los Angeles who's an EFT therapist. And Cynthia realized that her high income months were also her high expense months. So she was not building any stability. And she'd gone to the courses, she'd gone to the places to learn what she was supposed to do. And she knew what to do intellectually. But even while she was there, she would wonder, do these people even know where I'm coming from? Do they understand the generations of scarcity that I've dealt with? And Cynthia went through the Bosque Money community coaching. And Bosque means Spanish, and it means forest in Spanish. Because when you see a forest, you see there's all of these individual trees, but really it's the entirety. That's what's beautiful, right? So she went through Bosque Money, and this is a 6-month program. It's really a 6-week program with 5 months of follow-up. Those first 6 weeks, we meet every week, and we really get deep into what are your money beliefs, what's your money history, what are the gifts and challenges of your money personality, and what are all the things that you need to keep track of, especially as a business owner, right? Let's think cash flow, let's think insurance, let's think, how are you doing your tax planning? So in those first 6 weeks, it's a deep dive into your money. And then we meet every month for a follow-up, because we all know that it's that implementation where we also really need support. And for me as the facilitator, it's always magic to see all the participants, how they bounce off each other, how the energy that all of them brings really moves them to the next level. Because it's accountability, but it's also community. Because when you're learning to do things differently, it can be very isolating. And James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he says that the fastest way to really change behavior is to join a group of people who are doing the thing you want to do, right? Surround yourself with people on that path. And then when you get tired, the momentum of the group will continue to pull you forward. That's what Bosque Money is about. So Cynthia's now on the other side. She has this stable money foundation, and she thought that creating systems around her money was going to slow down her creativity, when in fact it supported her creativity. It freed her up. Because let me tell you, I work with clients who are making $500,000 a year and we're living month to month. It's not about the numbers. It is not about the numbers. It's about mindset. If you can do well on what you have right now, you can do well on more. If you're not thriving with what you have right now, more is not going to solve it. You have to change your mindset. You have to learn what is it that, I mean, here I'm up on my I don't even remember what to call it, but like I get so inspired about this topic, you know? I can see people have so much freedom when they really understand what's driving their money, take a step back, and then choose the path that they're on, as opposed to just going with what's always been done in their family and their life.
Oh, wow. Yes. And that's really important for people to understand and realize, is that not more money is not going to be the answer. It's how do you manage what you currently have? Because what you're doing right now, the habits that you have right now, the mindset around money that you have right now is going to transfer over to the larger amount, if that, if you end up getting more. So that was really important that you ended up sharing. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about the managing inconsistent income. What can you tell us
Mhm.
about that?
Well, managing inconsistent income, it's important to know that when you're looking at money, a lot of our money behaviors, they're already developed by the time we're 7, 8 years old. So have given people a lot of like intellectual information on how to do it without addressing the inner child part of money work is like, it's not going to be effective. When I teach people about money personalities, there's one personality in particular that's very good at managing inconsistent flows. So I talk about money personalities in terms of trees and plants. And the saguaro, which is a cactus, they're very good at managing inconsistent flows, right? Because in the desert, when it rains, it droughts. And when it rains, it floods. And when it doesn't rain, there's like, you don't never know when that drought's going to end. And I ask people to think about what's the bare minimum for themselves? So that's the first step. What is the bare minimum that you need in order to survive? So you need to have a personal budget. You need to have a personal budget. You need to have a business budget. What are the structural expenses? I'm talking housing, groceries, insurance. Understand what that number is, and then understand what it is for your business. Any Zoom hosting, any help that you have from employees, what is the bare minimum that you need? Know what that number is so that you're less worried about making that each month.
Yeah.
Then figure out what are the seasons in your business. Let's say you're a tax accountant, right? Business is really, really heavy right now, March, April. I know that this is going to be released in April, but this is the time where things are really busy, when their income might be really high too. If you're a teacher during the summer, your income's going to drop, right? How do you manage that? So keep in mind, you know your business, you know your cash flow, even if you think that you don't. So know what are the times, the seasons in your income. And now going back to your budget, like your personal budget and your business budget, one of the biggest things that you need to do is learn how to have reserves. So when you see a saguaro, they have really deep roots and they store a lot of their water because they're not sure when it's going to rain again. As entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting, you're not sure when it's going to rain. You're not sure when the money's going to come in. So build up reserves. And at first, you may only be able to put a small percentage into reserves, but building that muscle, having that identity of a person who has reserves is going to change the way that you move, the way that you do money. The recommendation is for personal expenses, have 3 to 6 months of your emergency, of your must-haves. Again, your very structural cost. For business expenses, carry around 3 months to cover those business expenses. And again, you might be asking, how do I get there? You get there slowly.
Yeah.
You get there consistently. I actually have a tool that I have a tool that people who come to this workshop can see that really outlines personal and business and how does it all interrelate together. When you're thinking business, you've got to think first your income, then your expenses, right? So if you've got, let's say the income for the month is 20 grand, your expenses are 15 or they're 10, just to make the numbers easier, 20 grand incoming, 10 grand outflowing. You've got a net profit of 10,000. Pay taxes on that. Maybe you don't physically actually make the tax payment, but put a percentage aside for taxes, 25%, right? So that leaves you with 7,500. And let's say that your personal expenses for the month are 5 grand. So then you would take that 5 grand and automatically move it to your personal account. So at least have a personal and a business account. You would automatically move that 5,000. And that leaves you with a $2,500 buffer for the next month. And that $2,500 buffer. So again, if your average expenses are 10 grand a month, you're going to want to have a 30K buffer.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, why would I want to have money doing nothing? Why would I want to have money just sitting there? But it's not, it is doing something. It's creating peace of mind. It's creating opportunities. If you see there's a training that you want to go to, a conference that you want to attend, you'll have the money to do it without having to go into debt. And again, as people of color, we may not always have the network. We may not always have the uncle, the rich parents that can help us with money. So we need to be resourceful within ourselves, right? Think back to the saguaro. So the saguaro has these deep roots, this deep reserve of water. And from there, you can make decisions, you can make changes. And whether it rains or it doesn't, you know that you're covered. And that peace of mind, again, will make you so much more creative. People can spend so much of their energy worrying about money. And yet, when you have a system that's stable, and the thing is, it's so unsexy, it's so boring. I tell people I'm a certified financial planner. Yes, it's important to invest, but don't invest if you're going to need the money in the next 3 years. I remember one of my cousins was learning how to invest, and she told me this person had a 20 grand return in one day and blah, blah, blah. And she showed me the number, and I was like, honey, that's 2%. Do you see how much they're working with? 20 grand on, I think it was like 2 million. That's a 2% movement. Have you had a 2% movement in your portfolio? Yes. But her numbers were smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So be really, really careful who you're comparing yourself to, who you think you should be, and really look at their circumstances and look at your own and make sure to pat yourself on the back for where you're at right now.
Yes. Pat yourself on the back for where you are right now. Because too many people, they don't focus on the present moment of where they are. They don't focus on the things that they are currently doing well. They don't focus on what they actually have because they're too busy focusing on what they don't have, what they want to get or and yeah, pat yourself on the back for where you are right
Yeah.
now. Ah,
And it's one of those things. I mean, it's really easy for it to happen with money in our consumerist culture where we always think like more is better. But I don't know if you've ever had like a third slice of cake where you're like, you know what? More was actually not better. I'm
right.
crashing from all the sugar.
Right. And now I'm dealing with a stomach ache and feeling miserable.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I remember having a client who was kind of saying this tongue in cheek, but things weren't going well in her marriage. And she literally said, do you think a Beamer would help? And we laughed because she said that that was an earlier thing that they had tried. They had tried getting a nicer house. They had tried taking a nicer vacation. And those external things were actually not solving the issues with her marriage, you know? So yes, Go and enjoy yourself. Go and have the thing that makes you feel good. Go and have the thing that you can flaunt, but make sure that you're not asking money to do something money cannot do.
Hello. That's right. Yes.
It's got limits. It's got limits.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's good. So tell us about honoring family commitments. This is interesting.
Right, right, right. So as a child of immigrants, I do send money back home, and I have clients that send money back home. I have clients that support nieces and nephews. And it's a beautiful, beautiful part of our culture, of my culture. And how do I do that in a way that doesn't leave me feeling resentful, that doesn't actually hold me back, where actually neither of us is growing, in a way that doesn't make them dependent on me,
Yes.
right? Because that's also really important. We want people to see that they can make changes in their life, not just sit and wait for someone else to solve their problems.
Mhm.
It's going to start with us first. I'm going to go back to that budget, back to that spending plan. The way that I teach people to do it, I have them divided into three sections. The first one is the must haves, the structural expenses that I was talking about. The second one is for the future. And the third one is for the present. So for the future can include investing for retirement and could include saving for that vacation. I also include charity on there. And I include my family commitments on there because it's for the future that I want to see. And I make sure, and I tell my clients, when you give to honor your family commitments, make sure you're giving from a place of fullness where you know that you're going to be okay, where you're not denying yourself your own things, because you bringing that energy of like resentment into family relationships, it makes Christmas really difficult. It makes every barbecue really difficult. And that's not why you're doing it, right? You're helping because you want to help. But if you're helping because you feel like you should, if you feel like it's expected of you, slow that down,
Mhm.
right? A lot of the times when we're doing things that are expected of us, it's very energy depleting. And even if you don't mean to, those resentments are going to come up. So one of the things that I remember clients doing was one of my clients only gave to her family if it was for education, because that made it easy for her to just give without holding on to it. Whatever it was, if they were learning how to take a cooking class, she was like, as long as you're learning something, I feel good supporting you. So figure out what it is for you. Maybe for you, you want to help out family. Like maybe you have a cousin who's a single mom and you want her to get a massage because you want her to do self-care. Buy her the gift card for the massage,
Right.
right? So be really clear. What is it that you're trying to do? And then do that and give with an open palm, not expecting something from them. If you're lending money, do it with a contract.
Yeah.
If you're lending money,
Yes.
then actually go through the process of lending, go through the process of what's the interest rate going to be. There
Yeah.
is actually a federally published interest rate table. Because remember, I started off my career working with high net worth families where the parents were lending their children money to get a mortgage,
Hmm.
right? Instead of the kids going to a bank, they were going to their parents. And that had to be formalized because in some ways it's a gift. You're getting a lower interest rate. So these families had to have a conversation because that's the legal way of doing it. It's not that you're being hard. It's not that you're being like, there's something. No, if someone asks you for a loan, then make it a loan.
That's right.
If they're not asking you for a loan, then decide how much you can give.
Right.
And these money conversations, like being able to have these open money conversations, it's really clear that we first have them with ourselves.
Mhm.
That's where I come in as a money coach. Again, Bosque Money. What was beautiful about this community coaching is that you're having open money conversations with people who are not your relatives, people who you are not dating, people who are not your colleagues. And you get to practice that muscle of saying what's coming up for you and asking for what you want, and then hearing other people's perspectives. We're not taught how to do money, just like we're not taught how to do relationships in a lot of ways. So learning how to do those things will make it easier for you to actually make sure you're on the path that you want to be on. If you can honor those family commitments, but make sure you're honoring them and that they're not dragging you down or that you're not dragging other people around with you.
Absolutely. And as you were speaking, the first thing that came to mind for me is making sure that you're creating a win-win situation where it's not,
Mm.
off-sided or one-sided. Make sure if you're giving and assisting or helping other people, that it's also a win for you to where you're not putting yourself in some sort of financial trouble or a space of feeling guilt or a space of
Mhm.
maybe even feeling regret or resentment, like you said earlier. So, because sometimes I believe people feel that they're obligated to give and that they have to do this or that they have to do that. And they may not be giving with the right
Mhm.
intentions or with the right heart posture.
Definitely, definitely. And there's a way you can, again, when I was talking about your budget, your spending plan, I mentioned that charitable giving and family and honoring family commitments for me is in the future because it's the future that I want to see.
Mhm.
So that's a percentage of where my income goes. There's a percentage that's my structural cost. There's a percentage that's for me living today. And in that future, there also has to be my own personal future, right? Like everything on this spending plan. So when you create the spending plan, it's really important to have your values be really clear. If family is one of your values, then you have a slide on it that can be family. I had a client, what she did, her parents would occasionally ask her for loans. Sometimes it was gifts, sometimes it was loans, but it was not all the time. But when it happened, it was big.
Mm,
Right. So what she did is she had a line item on her budget that every month she would put money into an account that was for her family
yes.
because that was important to her. She wanted to do that. She felt proud of how far she'd gotten in her career and wanted to be able to give back without feeling stressed about it. And whenever it was usually her mom, whenever her mom said, like, this thing needs to be repaired or this person is having an illness, she would tell her mom, this is how much I have been putting aside for us.
Mm,
And it was true.
yeah.
That's what the money was there for. And my client felt good giving it. And the mom knew, the mom respected. And it was just like, it brings tears to my eyes. How beautiful. And that was the client who came up with the solution themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because she knew that if she told her mom, this is how much I have for us, her mom would respect that.
Yep. And that takes the pressure off. That takes the pressure off.
Mhm.
So were you able to, or do you go deeper into the for the present of those three areas, the
Oh,
must-haves
yeah, yeah,
for the
yeah. For the
future? Okay.
present,
Yeah.
so for the present, I recommend it be at least 15%.
Okay.
So let me give you the percentages too. So for
Okay.
the must-haves, you want that to be around at most 60%, 65%. If more of your income is going to those must-have categories, it means you need to make more money or you need to lower your expenses because
Yes.
it's not sustainable. You want 10% at least, 10 15% to be going for the future because sometimes the future is an auto repair
Mm,
and that needs to happen immediately, right? So having that cash cushion, it really is to cushion the things that happen. Because I mean, emergencies happen all the time. They're just, we don't know what they are, but they're going to happen. And then for the present is the remaining, which is around, again, at least 15%. So I give guidelines on what the least amount is. And for the present, it's eating out. It's anything that's not necessary for your life. It could be your hair, it could be, but it's hard, right? Because one of the things is therapy for the present or is therapy structural? It depends on what your situation is.
mm,
What about coaching? Because I think a lot of the times as business owners, anything that has to do with my business growth, I put it under the future. It's an investment in myself.
mhm.
For the present, it's all of those subscriptions. If for you, you need to have a monthly massage, you need to have a monthly like pedicure, whatever it is, put that in there. Give yourself permission to spend because it's kind of like if you're on a diet and you say that you're only going to eat grapefruit, how long do you think you're going to be able to stay on that diet?
Right.
It's not going to last, right? So we need to build a plan that's sustainable, that's supportive.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you for sharing those percentages because I didn't know if there were. It's, like maybe as a
Mhm.
guideline. So thank you for going into
They're
that detail.
guidelines. I think, and the
Yes.
main one is that 60% on the must-haves. If
Yes.
your structural expenses are too high, it doesn't give you enough breathing room to
Yeah.
enjoy today or to prepare for the future.
Right. Ah, so important. Awesome. So what is money in full bloom?
Money in full bloom. It's this image that I share during Bosque Money, and it has three sections. The bottom section is it's actually this beautiful tree, of course, right? Everything that I do is nature related. So it's this gorgeous tree. You see the sun coming in and like these really thick, heavy roots, the really lush canopy of the tree. And the bottom of it, the roots, there are money values, there are family or money history, right? So that's the roots where we're coming from. In the middle of the section where you see all the branches, it's the past, present, and future of money. Because when it comes to money, like what is time, your past decisions, that alimony you've got to pay, those student loans you got to pay, they're affecting your present. Your present income, your present is affecting your future, right? Your future retirement goals, your future saving goals, and your future is affecting your present and it's affected by your past. So when it comes to money, like what is time? That's why I have it just in a line. And the top, what we're actually blooming towards, it's your vision of your best life. Again, as people of color, often we have protected ourselves. I know I've struggled with it. I've protected myself by just asking for less, keeping myself small. Because if I kept myself small, then you couldn't tell me no.
Yeah.
So I support people to think about their best life, right? Is it paying for your niece's college? Is it taking your family on a vacation? Is it hitting seven figures? Like, what is your best life? Give yourself permission, set yourself up to get there. Community is also a really big part of it. At the end of the day, money is relational. If I made up my own currency, who cares? Like no one's going to take it, right? It's about the relationships that we have. Who takes? It's kind of like cryptocurrency. I love the idea. There's a lot of things that are really innovative about it, but if I can't use it to buy my groceries, I don't know how interested I am.
Right.
So that is your money in full bloom. And again, as I mentioned earlier, our money ideas of money are created by the time we're 7, 8 years old. So the visuals that I create are meant to be really intuitive so that all of the stories that we have around money, we can kind of just cut through them
Yeah.
and be like, what is it that you're actually working on? Under money future, we have estate planning and risk management, right? And which are really heavy kind of words. But when you look at it, it's kind of like, well, what happens if there's an accident? Would you have insurance for it? If you pass away, how are your things going to be given out? Right? Is it still set out to your ex-husband from 3 husbands ago? Like, how is your money set up? And that's what your money in full bloom is. It's like when you see the whole picture of it and you've addressed all of it, and you have planned to address it or you know how to address it. So much of the time we think money is this like really esoterical, mysterious thing, and it isn't. As someone who's got like the highest, because a certified financial planner, that's like the highest technical degree on it, short of a chartered financial analyst, which is for investment. So for personal finances, let me tell you that no matter what the numbers are, we all have the same questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you say or suggest for, because it's not easy to, for some people and some families, it's not easy to discuss money and income and
Mhm.
finances, especially when it's a relation of parent child. Even if the child is more maybe older teenager or young adult, what are some suggestions that you can give to those to help encourage having that open conversation in the family? Are there any tips
Mhm.
that you can give to just help it
Yeah.
be a little bit easier?
One of the exercises that we have people do, and we actually had people when they got pregnant, and they were even before their baby was born, we would have them write out what are the things you want your child to know about money?
Mhm.
What are the things you want them to understand, to learn? And you don't always have to share this. I mean, it has to be really age appropriate,
Mhm.
but keeping in mind that you are stewarding this little being for a set amount of time, and that when they're out of your household, when you're not there to care for them, what tools do you want them to have? And doing it in a way, I mean, coming from a heart, from an open heartedness, from a place of love, as opposed to like, I cannot believe you spent this much at the mall, you know? Maybe there's that initial judgment, that's our initial reaction, but underneath it, what are you trying to teach them?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to teach them about stewarding their money. You're trying to teach them about learning how to put things off for the future, right? Because that's a really important skill set. I also want to talk about for anybody that's grew up in a household that had scarcity. Sometimes you had enough, and sometimes you didn't, and sometimes the lights were shut off, and sometimes if you had to move because of it, that can keep you stuck in like fight, flight, freeze. That can be really, really traumatizing, and it can make it so that when you have whatever it is, you'll spend it as soon as you have it because you never know when it's going to come back again.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to deal with that portion of it. You've got to really be patient and compassionate. That was then, this is now, right? Maybe you did grow up with a lot of financial scarcity, but now you don't. And if you grew up with financial scarcity and your children didn't, it can be a huge disconnect. It can feel like they're Martians, right? Because they walk around as if there's always going to be enough. And take a step back and consider what are you bringing into the conversation? What are they bringing into the conversation? Go and have conversation. I mean, we don't talk about money openly enough. One of the best tools that people can have is a money mentor. And it can be a little scary, right? So go and find someone who does money in a way that makes you feel good, in a way that they're like, this person treats themselves, this person treats others, this person has big goals, this person, like whatever it is that gets you excited, and ask them about their journey. This is very different from when we compare ourselves to others to see if we have the right outer stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that can deflate us. But a mentor who can share the steps that they took to get to where they're at can be very, very motivating. When you learn to receive that money mentorship, even if it's not like vocal, like it may not be like, do you want to be my money mentor? You're just going to ask them a couple of questions. Then it'll be easier for you to have those conversations down to your children.
Yeah.
And also, people just sometimes need to have their own experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes they just have to hit that wall on their own.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I'm also here. You can also like reach out to me.
That's right. Go ahead. Absolutely.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of working with a financial planner, with a nutritionist, the coach. I have seen hundreds of people's financial situations. I'm an expert on this topic. I'm available for my community. I know how to translate these money conversations. If you have a question, reach out. I always do a 30-minute free discovery call with anyone. And in that 30 minutes, you may find the gem that you needed for your conversation. If you want a longer engagement, my favorite way of offering services is really through the Bosque Money Community Coaching, because again, it's a 6-week program with 5 months of follow-up. That's plenty of time to really dig into what you need to do for your finances. It's perfect for women of color entrepreneurs, but I've had everyone go through it. My specialty is that, but everyone's welcome. And then I also do private coaching because sometimes you don't want to talk about your money in front of other people.
Mm-hmm.
But full disclosure, in Bosque Money, people share what they want to share. I never ask people to share their numbers, right? Because again, it's not about the number. It's about the mindset. It's about understanding yourself, your history, and where you want to go.
Awesome. And is the coaching that you provide, are you accepting new clients right now, or is it going to be
Mhm.
open later in the year? Like, how does that work?
So Bosque Money opens twice a year. Registration for the April cohort actually closes March 31st. So this podcast may be after that, but the next cohort starts in September.
Okay, got it. And
And private coaching, I usually do around 10 clients at a time. And we have at least 3 sessions up to 6 sessions. So between 3 to 6 sessions. My goal is to really dive deep with people, get their system set up, and then I'm available as a resource as things change. But I want to empower people to be able to do this on their own. I'm not like a nutritionist that you have to call every time you have a meal.
yeah.
Like I'm teaching you how to do it. I'm empowering you to do it. But really, we each can own our power with money.
Yes. Awesome. And do you work only virtually? Do you also offer in person, or how does that work?
Well, part of as a coach, you have to live your best life. And for me, my best life is being a digital nomad. I'm currently in Antigua, Guatemala. I'm doing 3 weeks in three different places in the US, and then I'll be down in Colombia. So if you happen to be in Latin America, in a country that I'm in, I'll be happy to see you. I actually have done in-person sessions when our geographies coincide, but for the most part, it's virtual. Again, because I'm living my best life traveling all over the world.
Yes. Yes. I love it. That is awesome. Okay, I'm glad that we were able to go deeper into what you offer, the services that you offer, and just how I know that we'll talk in just a few more minutes as far as how people can connect with you and where can they go to sign up. But before we do that, let's go ahead and transition into what I like to call my fun segment. And this is where I'm going to ask you an out of the box question. It has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with finances, or anything that we discussed today. And it's just meant for you to have fun. And so, one of the questions that I want to ask you is, what is your biggest pet peeve? Like, what's that thing that just, it irks you? You cannot stand it.
Oh my gosh. I think I think indecisiveness
Okay.
is hard. I can be very indecisive, so I know that. But when I'm trying to make plans with someone and they're like super wishy-washy,
Yes.
I'm just like, get back to me once you know.
Right.
Like I don't want to get on this ride. This is not the ride for me. And I really, really get annoyed when I'm in that spot because every once
Yeah.
in a while I cannot decide for the life of me. And I'm like, what happened? But it does kind of rile me up. I'm like, well, what do you want? Like, I can't, I'm not a mind reader.
Right. Get on with it already. Let's go.
For sure. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Thank you for sharing that and being so open and vulnerable.
And I'm thinking now, like, oh no, people might be like, oh, but you're a coach. And I mean, it's different when I'm in that coach mindset.
Yes,
It's completely
exactly.
different. But I'm with a friend and we're trying to figure out where to go for dinner and they can't make up their mind. I'm like, please.
That is hilarious. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, let's see. The next question will be, what's one fun fact about yourself or a fun fact that you just randomly happen to know about anything?
Um, a fun fact well, I love hiking.
Okay.
And right now that I'm in Guatemala, Guatemala is known as like the land of volcanoes, which I think New Zealand is too. And I've hiked three volcanoes, and every time it's been like at least an 8 hour process. And like the view from on top is beautiful. But I wanted to do more. Like I love hiking, like I said, but on the way back, my knees were like, this was it. Three is a good number. Three volcanoes is a good amount of volcanoes.
Yes, it
So
is. Oh my gosh. Oh, when was the last time you hiked a volcano?
the last one here, there's Lago Atitlan. There's a beautiful lake in the middle of Guatemala, and there's three volcanoes on that lake. I wanted to do all three, but I only did one. And I did Santiago Atitlan. It was me and a girlfriend and the guide who was with us because you don't want to do a volcano on your own,
Okay.
especially if you're not from the area. You're just gonna get lost. On the way up, she was really slow, and on the way down, I was really slow. So that poor guide was like, wow, because we're both like young, we're both fit, but going up, she just had the stamina, and going down, my knees were just not about it. So that was the most recent one, but it was beautiful up top. I just the view, pictures do not do it justice. I mean,
Ah,
you see this volcano on the other side, everything is luscious and green. You see this gorgeous lake that's laid out before you. The sun was coming through, these clouds looked like they were photoshopped. They were so beautiful. It was really worth it. I really, really recommend it.
I bet. Oh, now I don't know, I might have to go find somewhere to hike. The way
Hey,
you
nature's
described it.
magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It absolutely is. Okay, one more question. Okay. So, what's one word that either you would describe yourself as, or just what's your favorite word? Either or.
I don't think this is going to be a surprise, but adventure.
Okay.
I think for about a decade, adventure has kind of been the word for me. And sometimes adventure is like diving into a really good book, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's hiking volcanoes. I think of being a business owner, I call it an adventure because it's not always going the right way,
Mhm.
but you're always learning something along the way. You always have to stay open and present.
Yep. Absolutely. Adventure. I like it. I like it. Well, thank you for entertaining us with those three fun questions. So, at this point, we're going to just kind of wrap up everything that we talked about today. And this is where I would like to give you an opportunity to either share like one final golden nugget or just some sort of takeaway or a final word that you would like
Mm,
to kind of leave us with. So, take it away.
yeah. One of the main things that I see people I work with learn, especially women, is that we know enough.
Yes.
Often as women, we think, I need to read that book, I need to do that thing, I need to take that course. But actually, intuitively, money management, inflow, outflow, you know a lot. You know enough. If you're talking to any financial professional and they even have a whiff of talking down to you, if they even say anything and they don't make a good job of explaining it to you, run away. Just
Yep.
like turn around and run the other way. There is financial planning, financial services has a bad reputation, but it's been earned.
Yeah.
I don't think it would take many of us long to think about things that happened in our families, things that happened into our peers, where somebody in a financial seat of knowledge took advantage or kind of misconstrued things. I'm not saying walk around with fear. I'm saying walk around aware that if someone's not clear, they're not the right person for you to work with. I can explain any financial concept, any financial topic in a way that a 7-year-old understands.
Good.
If they can't do that, it's on them, it's not on you.
Oh, that's
That would
important.
be the main thing that I want to walk away with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
And
that.
then how to work with me, I mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, perfect, because that
And
was
my
the next
pleasure.
segue. So please let us know how can we find you, connect with you, support you, whatever means that you have available, website, social media, and anything that you may be selling right now or
Mhm.
have to offer. This is the time for that.
Yeah, thank you, Nrgy. So my website is all the colors, ALLTHECOLORS, allthecolors.net for network. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Those are the three main social medias that I use. And I offer workshops. So if you have an organization, if you have a group that you talk to, I can do workshops on honoring your family commitments, managing inconsistent income. I mean, the things that we talked about today, and also from under earning to flourishing. That's a really important one that we didn't get to into today. So I can offer these workshops and my private coaching, like I said, I take up to 10 clients at a time. Right now, I have space available for one-on-one clients, also couples. I love working with couples um, because often just having a third neutral party will make the conversation a lot smoother.
Mhm.
And like I said earlier, Bosque Money Community Coaching that opens up twice a year, April and September.
Awesome, awesome. Well, make sure everyone that you go support, check out all of the information. And if you believe that you're in a phase of life right now to where financial literacy or just having that conversation to help yourself create a budget that's going to work for you and to where it will work for your family as well, make sure that you connect with Deanna. Deanna, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all of this valuable information. I now have images of cactus, or should it be cacti, whichever one is plural, and trees and volcanoes, and the visuals are heavenly.
Yeah,
So, thank you so much for your time and sharing all of the
thank
information that
you.
you've provided to us. It's been really informative and eye-opening, and I believe that for those who are going to watch this episode, that it will give them the energy and the it's going to encourage them to be able to have these discussions and to just sit down, take out pen and paper, and look at their own financial situation currently in order to then see, do they have their must-haves together? Are they preparing for their future? And where are they right now in the present? So once again, thank you so much. And for you who's currently listening, if you would like to be a guest on my podcast, please connect with me either here on YouTube or via social media. You can find me at Nrgy Speaks Life, or go to my website, nrgyspeakslife.com. I am going to post this episode on all of those different channels, so make sure that you tune in. Make sure that you share it if the information resonated with you or with someone else that you know who could really take advantage of all of the information that was shared. Go ahead and send it out, share it. Don't have any stingy energy. We don't have that here. But go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already subscribed. Consider doing that as well. And always remember that when you master your mind, when you master your emotions, and when you master your assignment, you can live your purpose and live on purpose. Until next time, thank you.